Hey guys, Mark here, and this is the Samsung Note 20 Ultra. This is an incredible phone. It's got just about anything you could ever need or want. It has a beautiful 6.9-inch Goliath of a display, an outstanding camera system, top-tier specs and performance, a beautiful design with the strongest glass yet, and an S Pen that's better than it ever has been. And it should be. This is a $1,300 phone after all. But the Ultra does have an Achilles heel. It's not bad enough to deter most die-hard Note fans, but it is significant. The Note 20 Ultra comes in Mystic Bronze, Mystic White, and Mystic Black, which is the one I have here. This phone was sent out to me by my friends over at wirelessplace.com. They aren't sponsoring this video, which is important to note, but if you're located in the Long Island area and you want to pick up one of these phones for yourself towards the end of this video, that'd be a great place to do it. Mystic Black really isn't my favorite color. In fact, of the three, it's probably my least favorite because of its glossy glass back. The other two colors have a matte coating and are much more resistant to fingerprints. Still, this piano black color is classy, but that's not what most people are going to focus on when they look at the back of this phone. The camera module on this phone is absolutely massive, and it's the main attraction back here. Not only is the module vertically and horizontally huge, but it's also incredibly thick, most likely to house the 5x optical periscope zoom lens. More on that later. The front side of this phone is where all the magic happens. Samsung has put an absolutely humongous 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED 120Hz display on this phone that has a native resolution of 1440 by 3088. Now, I made sure to say native there because you can't run the phone at both 1440p and 120Hz. You're locked at either 1440p at 60Hz or 1080p at 120. If ever forced to choose, I'm always going to pick high refresh rate over resolution because it just makes the phone feel so much faster. Regardless of the option that you choose, the display will get incredibly bright for viewing in direct sunlight, and it won't burn out your eyes in the morning when you wake up in the dark. Samsung's One UI has been looking quite a bit better lately, but I always prefer using Nova Launcher to get better customization with icon packs. By the way, if you want to see a video on my setup for the Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra, including wallpapers, icon packs, widgets, and everything else, just let me know in a comment down below. Colors on the display are natural and vibrant, and it's almost the perfect media consumption device given its large size and relatively small hole punch selfie camera cutout. But the stereo speakers are not quite as good as some other flagship smartphones, unfortunately. The sound isn't as full as I'd like, and the bottom firing speaker is very easy to block with your finger when holding the phone. For quick and easy unlocking, the Note 20 series has an ultrasonic fingerprint reader hidden under the glass that works so much better than facial recognition in times when masking up is the right thing to do. Aside from the first Galaxy Fold, this is the largest phone I have ever held in my hands. It's an absolute unit, even without a case, and if you do choose to case this phone, it's gonna get even bigger. In my opinion, this phone is a little on the too big for comfort side of things. I've got some pretty big hands, and this phone is a little bit difficult to manage at times, especially with the curved glass. Now, if you've ever watched me review a Samsung phone, you know that I love complaining about curved glass, but on this phone, it's especially bad. Because the phone is so big, more of my hand has to naturally touch the sides of that curved display, and that's led to a lot of accidental touches. The regular Note 20 has flat glass on the top and is a little bit smaller and more manageable at 6.7 inches, but it's got its own set of problems that I'm gonna get into when I review this phone. So subscribe to be notified when that video drops if you're interested in seeing that. The S Pen is such a big part of what makes the Note appealing to a lot of people, and you'll be happy to know that the stylus on the Ultra got a pretty big upgrade this year to match the high refresh rate display. The response time has been reduced from 40 milliseconds all the way down to 9 milliseconds, and you can absolutely feel the difference. Writing feels much more natural and responsive overall from what it was like on my Note 10. Now, I'm not an artist, and my writing skills have gradually degraded since my hands first touched my first computer keyboard over 20 years ago, but writing notes with the S Pen has been a joy, even for me. Lefties will appreciate the fact that they've moved the S Pen silo over to the left-hand side of the phone on the Note 20 series, although it's a bit more awkward for righties like me. All right, camera time. My personal favorite thing to talk about in a phone. Samsung's approach to the camera system with the Note 20 Ultra is one of absolutely no compromises. They packed absolutely everything they could into this camera bump, and it shows given the sheer size of it. It has a 108 megapixel main sensor with a standard focal length, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with a 5 times optical zoom. It also has a laser for assisting the autofocus in the cameras, and the main sensor can shoot up to 8K and 24 FPS. The rest of the cameras, including the 10 megapixel selfie camera, can shoot up to 4K at 60 frames per second. The S20 series had some issues with autofocus during video recordings, and it seems like they solved that problem by adding the laser autofocus system on the Note 20 Ultra. Autofocus does a lot less hunting now, even in 8K, and it looks absolutely incredible for a phone camera. Colors and contrast are good across the board, and overall everything is very well balanced. I've noticed that the 8K mode crops in quite a ways from 4K though, and it appears to have stabilization that isn't as good as in 4K, so you might want to pick up a small gimbal or a tripod if you intend on shooting in 8K a lot. Now personally, I don't shoot a whole lot of 8K because I don't really think it's necessary, but I have been getting a kick out of shooting 4K video on that periscope lens. Some people think that 50 times hybrid zoom is overkill, but it can be extremely helpful to read signs that are too far away to read with the naked eye. So if you treat it as more of a telescope than a camera for photography, you might get more use out of it. Photos come out just as good or better than video. They're razor sharp and colors and contrast is excellent. Bonus, if you shoot objects up close with that 108 megapixel sensor, you don't even need to use the live focus mode because you'll get a very natural background blur anyway. Samsung has always done great in the HDR department, and that's true here too. Exposure between the lightest and darkest parts of almost every image is nearly perfect. The worst part about this camera system actually has not much to do with the cameras themselves. This is the Achilles heel I was referring to in the beginning of this video. Taking photos and video on the Note 20 Ultra absolutely decimates the 4500 mAh battery, and the overall battery life on this phone has not been impressive. It's not like iPhone SE bad or anything, but it's not what I expected of a Note device. In fact, I was so surprised by this that I actually had to take to Reddit to see what other people thought. And it seems like the consensus is mostly the same. The battery life on this phone just isn't that great, whether you have the Snapdragon model or the Exynos model. I'm only getting around 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time a day, and there have been a few instances where the phone was about this close to death just before I got ready for bed. You can drop the phone down to 60 Hz at 1080p if you really want more battery life, but the high refresh rate of the Ultra is the biggest upgrade over the Note 10 in my mind, so I don't really see a point in doing that if you're going to spend all that money on this phone. The Note 20 Ultra does have 25 watt fast charging, which is decent, but the S20 Ultra had 45 watt fast charging, so the fact that they stepped it down on the Note is a bit strange to me. Still, the battery is smaller than the S20 Ultra, so it should charge quickly enough for most people. Thankfully, performance is excellent as you would expect from a Samsung Note device that costs as much as this one. It's extremely snappy in the menus and can play games like Call of Duty Mobile locked at 120 frames per second. The high refresh rate display really does make the phone feel much faster than past Note devices, and using the S Pen to navigate through menus makes it feel even faster. So for $1,300 US, this phone packs a lot of features. Not only that, but Samsung just recently committed to providing this phone with 3 years of software updates, which is a lot more than previous phones. Like I said in the beginning of this video, the Note 20 Ultra has nearly everything you'd want in a phone, except good battery life. Of course, like I said, if you want to squeeze more juice out of it, you could always dim the screen and turn down the resolution and frame rate, but I feel like that the vast majority of people that are considering this phone are power users who are unwilling to make those compromises, myself included. So yeah, the Note 20 Ultra is an excellent phone, but are you willing to take that hit in battery life for a phone like this? Let me know in a comment down below, and if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to support my channel, and as always, have a great day.